Hello class of EDL 854, this is Nelson Rush with Module 16, a case study in the Missing Booster Club funds. Now, to start with, I want to look at what is already known in this case study. Mr. Stevens is a well-liked principal with a history of success at his school. That was made apparent. But what was also made apparent was that there is inadequate administrative coverage to go along with social events. It was also stated that the PTA is historically trustworthy, and that goes along with the financial responsibilities that they have in the different capacities within the social events. But in this case study, it was observed that the two-staff rule, two staff with money, two staff with record keeping, two staff with inventory, was not followed with fidelity. And the chain of command did seem to be broken. Now, what do I need to know? Obviously, it'd be very helpful to know who was left alone with the money. It would also be helpful to know if this has happened before, if there's been any other kind of questionable activity, some weird-looking record keeping, maybe some funds missing here or there that weren't as noticeable. Something that could have been identified before, which might help with determining a pattern. Also, there was this question about the $50 bill that one of the family members who was part of the PTA, part of that social committee, part of monitoring the money, said that he had given in order to receive change, but the $50 bill is gone. It would be helpful to know if that $50 bill was given out again as change. So maybe there's a $100 bill sitting in the cash box because they needed change for that. They needed change for that larger bill. Or was the $50 bill given or exchanged? Did somebody have a bunch of ones that they wanted to change out for a single bill? So the Booster Club traded it out. There was also the question of, whether Lucy's trip would be paid for. There's kind of an insinuation that if the funds were missing, that possibly one of the parents took that to pay for a student's trip fund. But, it would be helpful to know if all of a sudden Lucy's trip is paid for. That would help us determine how the funds for her trip were appropriated and kind of narrow our search a little bit. It'd be really helpful to know the school district policy on situations like this. Chances are something like this has probably happened before in a different capacity. Hopefully the school and the district have a policy. It'd be really good to know who the principal should report this to and what actions should be prescribed moving forward. Should it go to the financial office? Should this go immediately to uppers in the district, and should there be legal action? Should there be auditing? It would be really helpful to know this. How or should the PTA be notified in this instance? That would be really helpful because we know that insinuating that one of the PTA members stole the money could have ripple effects of broken trust between school and the families. And are there any possible ways that this could in fact just be an error or a miscalculation of some kind? I know that there was tickets that were looked at to determine that this could possibly just be a miscalculation. Maybe it'd be really important to go ahead and see if there's any other possible ways it could just be a miscalculation. Moving forward, identifying the problem. So the problem is straightforward. 3 parts. The funds have disappeared, and 2 individuals that had access to the money are now suspected. There is knowingly inadequate administrative coverage to go with social duties, and a lot of this, the problems associated with this, have created a situation where the PTA is now left questioned. And of course, there is a lack of evidence to support the potential threats of theft. So this might affect our relationship with the PTA. This might affect how the principal can move forward. Even if we highly suspect one individual, there's no real evidence at this point. So a proposed action plan. One, I would love to review the school or district handbook regarding similar situations. I think it would be really important to report the financial discrepancy to a finance or district office so that they could help support and also audit the records as a third party outside of the school and the PTA. That way we could determine greater fidelity with our record keeping and our finances. I think it would be important to hold a PTA meeting to inform members of this incident, but it would be non-judgmental and won't identify anybody in any particular way. It would explain only the facts about the funds, tickets, and the inventory and what was missing, and provide an opportunity for individuals who are responsible to anonymously come forward. So open up the meeting to describe what has happened factually, not identifying any other ancillary information that might identify somebody, but then create the ability for somebody to possibly come forward to the school anonymously to drop the money off, to mail it in, or whatever it is. So that way that person is not identified, and their integrity can be left intact. I also think that it would be important to develop a handbook or a policy, if one doesn't exist, regarding fundraising protocol. I think it'd be really important to go ahead and train individuals who are going to be handling money or part of the team to understand how to properly maintain chain of command and the two-person rule and securing funds and inventory. It's important to probably rotate and reestablish roles and responsibilities within the PTA, either move some of those parents around to new duties, to see if new parents want to come on board, and also to see if I can move the principal's role around a little bit to be more supportive and involved by moving parents to lesser important roles that the principal might not need to take on somewhere else, and so they can be involved more within the financial aspects. I think it'd be really important to define the expectations for two-person accountability and maintenance of chain of command. I think it would also be important to incentivize the PTA and school staff to participate in other capacities, and determine if incorporation of students, like say from a student council, could really help in social fundraising and stuff like this as well. You know, students being accountable for different aspects that might not be of high authority or high access, but could still help alleviate some of the stress of the principal and the parents. Now, resolution. Due to lack of knowledge about the school policies and the fundraising operations, I think that I would make sure to establish a training for all personnel so that they can take duty. I think that, again, due to a lack of identifiable responsibility and patterns in safe practice, reestablishing proper chain of command and identify a few key people and having access to the money or records and inventory, and make those people solely responsible rather than maybe that being a rotated duty of who's in charge of the lockbox or the inventory or the tickets. Have that be a dedicated team of people. And then due to the breach of financial ethics, I would notify the district and the financial department and request that they audit past records to see if a pattern emerges with either money missing or if that's related to certain individuals being related to certain positions within the PTA and the Booster Club. Due to the fact that only a few individuals are suspected of the theft, and there's no concrete evidence, I would hold a PTA meeting to discuss the issue, to create a new protocol, to reestablish codes moving forward, again, purely factual. And I know that there's a failing system and an overburdened administrator, so I would look for ways to incentivize families and staff to become more involved in lesser duties. So, for example, staff who come and help out in some of those roles during social events, maybe those staff can leave after student dismissal right away on Fridays. So they are incentivized to come and support, but also they get rewarded by leaving a bit earlier for a weekend. Maybe that would help. Now, I think that I responded to the problem in a way initially, I didn't want to be too quick to determine who was at fault. Based off of the stories that were given, I didn't want to figure one person was immediately responsible. And I wanted to keep in mind that there might be an honest error somewhere, and not cloud my judgment. I felt that the missing funds were inevitable, and as the administrative support was not there for a lot of aspects. And I did value the fact that the PTA was involved, and has helped the school in so many other aspects. I wanted to find a way to not compromise those individuals who were honest in their participation. At the end of the investigation, I still was left with a lot of unresolved issues, such as the possibility of an error, the persons responsible for the funds missing. I did not have a definitive way to increase my administrative ability for social programs as determined by this specific case study, and beyond those parameters. I have not determined an audit with a history or a pattern being brought to light, and it was not clear if the district would need to be involved or if legal investigation would need to be taken. Again, all based off of what the case study said. There was just not enough evidence to fully substantiate those unsolved questions. Now, in regards to Standard 8, I think that during the case study, it was clear that there was an overall lack of procedures, responsibilities, and conduct, and this situation was likely to happen. Creating a handbook, an explicit policy, training individuals, and working towards an integrated system of more administration is essential, and this can translate into effective and efficient management of school practices. And incorporating the financial office in the district into reviewing the financial records can really be the best action moving forward to make sure that all of the school, district, and PTA members are creating fidelity for school functions. Also, during the process of working through the situation, it was important to kind of keep the confidence of names and some of the information on a need-to-know basis. Again, this could directly relate to students as parents are involved. That information could get out and affect the relationship with students and their social interactions. Keeping the operations of the PTA and the social events is essential because the PTA is a vital part of the school function and student social learning. Increasing the capacity of more staff could actually be a good thing if they were able to join some of those extracurricular activities and social events, as it allows for more student-staff relationship building outside of the classroom curriculum. And rotating parent roles and incorporating students into the operations, if this is a possibility, could help build responsibility towards real-world learning with students. Now, it is important to make sure that the situation does not impact the learning of the educational environment. In working towards resolution, it's important to keep a dignified setting for all students, as we don't want to impact their academic environment. If students are brought into some of the operational components of the social clubs, it would be important to help build those skills of the students, and they could translate probably directly into academic gains, such as learning business skills. By shifting around parental support in the PTA and encouraging new family members, this could really help because it's one of the most important aspects of student growth and achievement is parental involvement. So building that relationship between home and school could translate directly into student academic growth. Now, thank you everyone for taking a look at my presentation. Hopefully it was thorough enough to help answer some questions and give some light into the case study. I look forward to everybody else's presentations and seeing how this case study was interpreted by you as well. Thank you again.